What's up, YouTube? So, I'm sure you've all heard by now that recently Mark Hamill tweeted something about dying of overdose when he used the Force to come back and to save the Resistance in The Last Jedi. I'd like to argue that that doesn't really make sense. So, back then, well, in the movies, the previous movies, we've always gotten Jedis that died and went to become one with the Force through a decision. Now, let me pull a quote from Yoda and Qui-Gon real quick for you guys. Eternal life, the ultimate goal of the Sith, yet they can never achieve it. It comes only through the release of self, not the exaltation of self. It comes through compassion, not greed. Love is the answer to the darkness. So, by exerting so much power through the Force to project himself over to the planet on The Last Jedi movie to save the Resistance of Rey and all them folks, took too much out of him, simply because it was closed off from him. The Force was closed off from him for 2 decades. I don't know how I feel about that. Now, let me put it this way. For starters, no Jedi has ever died from exhausting his strength through using the Force so much. That's never happened. I've done my own research. Do it yourself. If you find something, please let me know in the comment section. But from what I've researched, Luke is the first. Now, from what we've seen in the movies, when a Jedi went to go be one with the Force, which was Yoda and Obi-Wan, I mean, they didn't die because they necessarily exerted their energy or anything like that. They died because it was of their own decision. So, for example, with Obi-Wan, he gave his life up. It was out of an act of compassion. That's how the way becoming one with the Force works. You don't just do a bunch of charity and do a bunch of good things and go, okay, now it's time to go be one with the Force and disappear into nothingness and go and become a Force ghost. The way it works is that final act of compassion, the thing that you do within yourself that you believe in, which was in that moment Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan. When Obi-Wan came at the end, look, here's the thing. Read the book, it's the Book of Legends, about Obi-Wan's biography. In this state of mind, he could have defeated Vader again, chose not to. Instead, he chose to just defend himself when it came down to it. And so he looked over, and Obi-Wan saw Luke and Han Solo and Leia and the rest of them get on the Millennium Falcon and leave the Death Star. Obi-Wan found out that it was time and said that, Vader, you shall strike me down and I'll become more powerful than you can ever imagine. Obi-Wan went, disappeared, became one with the Force. So, with Yoda, it's a little bit different. With Yoda's situation, it was more about 3 different reasons, but I'm just going to touch on the one about his final act of compassion. Yoda allowed himself to pass away in that moment. And the way he allowed himself to pass away in that moment in Return of the Jedi is by no longer supplying his life force through the Force. Through the Force, Yoda gave himself strength. Yoda no longer allowed that. In that final act, it was to show Luke that he does not need to fear losing his own life nor his friends' lives, because they will all go to be one with the Force one day. Yoda wishes he said that to Anakin. When Anakin came to him for advice in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin asked him, what do I do about the fear of the ones I lose? And Yoda simply says, well, he's supposed not to feel that way anyway. So of course, when Anakin walks out that door of the Jedi Temple with a different mindset, and ultimately leads to the fall of the Jedi. Yoda didn't want to make that mistake again, and decided that upon his last act of compassion and selflessness, he showed Luke, this is just a temporary life. The Jedi's achievement is eternal life and being one with the Force. I want to talk about how he came back in tune with the Force in The Last Jedi to save the Resistance, and Leia and Rey and all them. And dies of overdose, right? So here's the thing. There's a couple different reasons here why that doesn't really make sense. One of them being that he is on a Force-sensitive planet. Luke is on a Force-sensitive planet, which gives you about 10 times the hype or 10 times the boost and perks of your Force abilities. And not only that, the second reason is because Luke is a Skywalker. All right, let me pull up a little quote here from Yoda. the Force runs strong in your family, he tells Luke. So that means that whereas the standard strong, powerful Jedi is here, Luke is up here. I would have been totally happy with him making the decision saying that, okay, I've exhausted all my energies over there to project myself to save them. I've done what I can. I've shown them that there is a mystical power out there and that Rey is now the Last Jedi, and I've passed on what I've learned. It's time to go. That I totally would have accepted. As a matter of fact, that's what I thought would happen until I read that tweet by Mark Hamill. Now we know for a fact that Mark Hamill says, according to Mark Hamill, that Luke died from too much Force power when Luke is already twice the amount of strength as a standard Jedi and has even twice the amount of strength from the fact that he's on a Force-sensitive planet. And he's still not strong enough to project himself on another planet. To me, that just doesn't really add up. The math to there is supposed to be 2 + 2 = 4. Instead, I'm getting something totally different. That being said, I'd like to conclude saying that Luke's death should have been a decision not by overdose. I mean, for starters, every other Jedi before him with Yoda and Obi-Wan, and even his father, Anakin, in his last act of compassion for his son, Luke, when he died, he passed away to become Force Ghost the way he did. That was the decision, to die for his son. Now, if it was something like that, then I guess that would have been okay, but Force projection, I just don't buy. I would rather Kylo Ren, he allowed him to strike him down and then dies. But it just wasn't fulfilling for me. Am I the only one that feels this way? No. That's what I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below, please. What is your input on Mark Hamill's tweet about him dying from overdose? And for more videos and all that, and to support me, please subscribe to my channel.